This is my video on reproduction and development. We're going to be talking about the reproductive system and its related topics. Reproduction is important to sustain life and pass on traits to a species' offspring. In females, the external genitalia is the vulva, which consists of the mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, the vestibule, which contains the urethra opening, where urine exits, and the vaginal opening. These external parts are means of getting the gametes or sex cells of the male and female together for fertilization, while providing protection to the internal parts. The internal genitalia consists of the vagina, which is the passageway of menstrual blood and babies leaving the uterus, as well as the entrance of sperm. There is also the ovaries that produce female sex hormones and the egg cells. The fallopian tube transports this egg cell to the uterus. The uterus or womb is where the offspring is developed and nourished. The cervix is a cylindrical tissue that connects the vagina to the uterus. In males, the scrotum is the protective covering of the testicles or testes. It also regulates climate and temperature because it contains blood vessels and nerves. The testis is located inside the scrotum, outside the body. This is because it needs an optimum temperature lower than the body temperature to stimulate the proper production of male gametes or sperm. The epididymis transports and stores the sperm and brings it to maturity. During sexual arousal, this mature sperm goes into the vas deferens, which is a long muscular tube that transports mature sperm into the urethra. The bladder holds the urine that also passes through the urethra. The seminal vesicles produce fluids that comprise most of the semen, as well as sugars that will give the sperm energy for swimming. The prostate gland secretes prostate fluid, which also comprises the semen. It nourishes and protects the sperm. The corpus spongium is a supportive erectile tissue that surrounds the urethra. The glans penis is the rounded head of the penis that has the opening of the urethra. The urethra is a tube that carries urine outside the body. However, when the penis is erect during sexual stimulation, the flow of urine is blocked from the urethra. Ejaculated semen exits through the urethral opening. All of these male and female parts are needed for what is called sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction is when a single haploid gamete, which can be a sperm or egg cell, combines with another haploid gamete to produce an organism with cells that are diploid or have two sets of chromosomes. This is evident in most animals. Plants are also able to utilize sexual reproduction to produce fruits and flowers. In sexual reproduction, the sperm cell fertilizes the egg cell. Asexual reproduction does not involve the fusion of gametes, resulting in an offspring that is genetically identical to the parent. An example of this would be propagation in certain plants such as onions, binary fission in some bacteria like paramecium, budding, fragmentation, and spore formation. Internal fertilization is when the union of gametes or syngamy occurs inside the female body. This is found in humans and other mammals. External fertilization, however, happens when the union of gametes occurs outside the female body or in the external environment. This can be observed especially with frogs and toads when their gametes are fertilized in bodies of water. Other amphibians and fishes also do this type of fertilization. Once fertilization occurs, the embryo then starts developing. Direct development is when the animal is born in a smaller version of its adult form. There is no major transition from infancy to maturity, and this is seen in many animals, especially mammals and birds. Indirect development is when the animal's birth form is different from its mature form. The embryo hatches from an egg in a larval form, then undergoes metamorphosis to achieve adult stage. This is observed most notably when a caterpillar develops into a butterfly or when a tadpole forms into a mature frog. Human gamete formation. In males, the production of gametes or sperm cells starts in the testicle or testis. They also produce the androgen hormone testosterone, which are secreted by Leydig cells. The testes are filled with coiled seminiferous tubules where spermatogenesis occurs. Sertoli cells nourish developing sperm cells. During puberty, the hypothalamus secretes gonadotropin-releasing hormone, which tells the anterior pituitary gland to release follicle-stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, which then stimulates the Leydig cells to release testosterone. Follicle-stimulating hormone stimulates the Sertoli cells to produce androgen-binding protein that binds with the testosterone, producing large concentrations of it. The spermatogonia is then stimulated by testosterone to undergo meiosis I to produce secondary spermatocytes, which then undergo meiosis II to produce spermatids. Spermiogenesis is the process when the spermatids grow a tail or flagellum. These sperms are now transported using peristalsis together with some fluid into the epididymis where they finish maturing. When stimulated by sexual activity, the sperm is mixed with seminal fluid secreted by the seminal vesicle and prostate gland to form semen. This is ejaculated through the urethra. In females, production of egg cells occurs in the ovaries, which contain ovarian follicles. These follicles hold a singular oocyte. The ovarian cycle is the process of the maturation of the follicle. During puberty, oogenesis occurs. The hypothalamus starts the ovarian cycle by releasing gonadotropin-releasing hormone, which stimulates the anterior pituitary gland to produce follicle-stimulating hormone as well as luteinizing hormone. The FSH stimulates the growth of the most developed follicle by triggering it to secrete its own estrogen. This estrogen triggers the anterior pituitary gland to produce more luteinizing hormone to finish maturing the follicle. The luteinizing hormone also stimulates the oocyte in the follicle to undergo meiosis. The mature follicle then pushes against the ovary wall, is ruptured, and ejects a single mature oocyte. The ruptured follicle turns into the corpus luteum, which releases progesterone, estrogen, and inhibin that triggers the halt of production of FSH and LH, and also prepares the uterus to receive the mature oocyte as it travels through the fallopian tube. The egg cell then rests on the endometrium of the uterus. If fertilization does not occur, the egg and the uterine lining is shed during menstruation. Fertilization occurs when millions of sperm are ejaculated into the female's vaginal canal, and if they survive the acidic environment, cervical mucus, and white blood cells, they can reach the mature egg cell or oocyte. Once the acrosome or cap of the sperm is degraded and it releases enzymes, it is now capacitated. These enzymes make it possible for the sperm to shift through the multiple layers of the oocyte membrane. The sperm's membrane then fuses with the eggs, and the contents of the sperm enter. This triggers the egg cell to complete meiosis, producing a large ovum and a second polar body. The male and female pronuclei enlarge and come closer together with the help of the mitotic spindle, and once they fuse, they form a diploid zygote ready to develop into an embryo. The zygote then divides until it forms 16 blastomeres, which then divide even more to form a cluster of cells called morula. The cells of the morula then form a blastocyst, which consists of trophoblast cells, which develop into the placenta, and inner mast cells, which develop into the embryo. The blastocyst is transported into the uterus where it will undergo implantation when the blastocyst is accepted into the uterine lining or endometrium, resulting in an embryo in an amniotic sac against the placenta. This is now called a fetus. This fetus is continuously nourished as it develops over the course of about 9 months. As labor nears, the production of progesterone decreases. Estrogen production increases as the fetus releases cortisol. The expulsion stage occurs during crowning, when the baby's head is now visible, and with constant pushing of the mother, the baby is pushed out of the vagina. This is the process of childbirth. The development of sexual differences begins with the XY sex determination system that is present in humans. Females typically have 2 X chromosomes, while males typically have a Y chromosome and an X chromosome. As development proceeds, one of the pairs of ducts develop while the other regresses. This depends on the presence or absence of the sex-determining region of the Y chromosome, also known as the SRY gene. In males, the SRY gene, when transcribed and processed, produces SRY protein that binds to DNA and directs the development of gonad into testes. In females, without testosterone and AMH, the mesonephric ducts degenerate and disappear. Contraceptives are designed to prevent pregnancy in 3 basic ways. They either block sperm, disable sperm before they reach the uterus, or suppress ovulation. Due to time constraints, we will be only mentioning a few examples. The condom, the oral contraceptive pill, intrauterine device, the contraceptive implant, contraceptive injections, emergency contraception pill, contraceptive rings, diaphragms, and sterilization. Examples of sexually transmitted infections: human immunodeficiency virus or HIV, and acquired immune deficiency syndrome or AIDS, chlamydia, gonorrhea, pelvic inflammatory disease, genital warts and human papillomavirus or HPV, genital herpes, and syphilis. That concludes our lesson on the reproductive system. Thank you for listening.